Paul Felder does not
Paul
win.
Felder won this 100%.
100%.
For the winner by split decision,
What? What's up, guys? It's the Ginger
And the Bear.
And guys, as you just saw, we witnessed a travesty. We witnessed a robbery. We witnessed, I would almost call it an assault. Assault and robbery. As hard as we need to. Fuck, that wasn't a very good one. But just hit the like button. Just hit it.
Absolutely. Just hit the like
button.
button.
It's for the algorithm.
But there was an assault. There wasn't a robbery on MMA.
It was
this
criminal.
Week,
it was terrible.
That Paul Felder did not win that fight. We had a similar. I know a lot of people had a similar issue with the last
Jones
card.
Jones Reyes. I thought this was much more egregious, personally.
There was much more. I actually gave 4 rounds to Felder. I know 2 or 3 was up in the air.
Yeah.
I could see it being 3-2, but I don't know how you could score that for Hooker.
Hooker didn't win 3 rounds. He maybe won 2. He won the first round. Yeah. That was pretty damn obvious. But then after that, 2, 3, 4, 5, I thought those were all Felder. The only one that I thought was even close was round 2. Yeah. And that is just a quintessential hometown decision. And that's exactly what we don't want to see start happening in MMA.
In MMA,
like we see it happen in boxing fairly relatively. And honestly, the worst part about this is, like, even though Hooker got gifted the win, I leave this thinking I'm very unimpressed with Hooker. Well, he has virtually no defense. He fades really, really badly. He's still incredibly vulnerable to low kicks.
He keeps his long man defense and then also shortens his range as well by coming in square. And also, I mean, if you guys go look at our predictions, I was not very high on Paul Felder.
I mean, neither of us were, to be honest.
And I think that I'm completely... Hooker, this should have been a not easy victory for Hooker, but it should have been something that like, okay, this is a showcase. I'm going to be able to prove my skills. I come from an excellent gym.
Yeah.
And I don't even...
Like, Paul Felder plays into a lot of things that Hooker likes to do.
Yes.
But Hooker didn't... Well, to Paul Felder's credit, I thought he fought really, really well. He answered a lot of the critiques that we've had of him before. He was a lot
loose. He was a lot stiff. He was still stiff, but...
He was good. His boxing looked really, really nice.
His left hook, oh my goodness, his left hook was amazing.
It was fantastic. The only thing that was really bothering me with Felder is he doesn't throw a full extension with his right hand.
Yes.
He kind of stops it right here. Even when he's throwing it naked, he doesn't completely turn it over. And there were a few times where if he either had just missed the length that actually fully extending would give him, or...
He missed the power
He missed the power that fully extending would
and
give him.
And they didn't follow it up with the left hand.
Yeah, he threw every cross, which is the 2, like he was going to come back with a hook afterwards. So he threw it very quick and stayed balanced. But then he wouldn't close the door with a 3. And those were the only real times you saw Hooker finding that counter right, was when Felder would throw the naked right and then Hooker would answer with it. But ultimately, that was very, very frustrating and just... There's nothing more frustrating as a fan than seeing one guy who you think clearly should have won get robbed.
Right.
And do so unimpressively. And do so... Paul Felder is up there. I think he's 35, 36. He says he's probably going to retire.
Yeah, and that's...
On a robbery.
Yeah, on a robbery. That's heartbreaking,
it's
you know?
So terrible.
And I think the one main difference in this is that between the Reyes fight and the John Jones fight... is that it was not nearly as close.
Yeah.
Even if you look, if you want to give credence to the CompuBox numbers, the CompuBox numbers in Reyes Jones were close.
Yeah.
The CompuBox numbers here, Hooker did run away with it from rounds 1 and 2. 1 and 2.
He had 1 and 3. He was only ahead on CompuBox 1 and 3.
Oh, okay.
And even still, like, if you count power into the equation, Felder had more power.
Way more power.
Throughout, I'd say 2 to 5. So there's really no way you can even make the argument for Hooker, especially because it was under the new rule set and the takedowns don't matter unless you actually do something with them. And they weren't high amplitude takedowns, which just means basically like a slam or something that would be inherently damaging. It was just normal takedowns. Yeah. Hooker didn't do anything. There was no damage. I think Felder actually landed more ground strikes from the bottom.
Yeah, it was insane. Also, one thing that I thought was completely butchered was when Dan Hardy came up and he basically, first of all, made it about Dan Hardy, and he, when a fighter retires, you automatically give the spotlight to the retire. to the retiring fighter, especially if he's as decorated and veteran as Paul Felder is.
And especially when he won the fight, and most people will think he won the fight, and you don't go, okay, wow, thank you, Paul, that was so great. Hey, Dan, what do you think?
Yeah.
And then go, oh yeah, hey, Paul, let's talk about me, brother. Can you not wait to do commentary with me, Dan Hardy? Also, their commentary was just god awful the whole fight. There was an exchange at the very end of the fight where Dan Hooker literally did everything wrong when he was trying to take Paul Felder's back, got way too high. Felder knocked him off his back.
And he said that was a great scramble.
And like, then rolled. Felder rolled Hooker. He, like, rolled it to try to get his guard back. And Dan Hardy's like, wow, amazing by Hooker. Look at this. Look at this scramble to stay on top. And I'm like, dude, Dan Hardy, I am a motherfucking white belt. How come I can tell Hooker was messing everything up? And you're like, oh, damn. Why are you guys jacking off Hooker?
Yeah,
He's not that, like... I liked Dan Hooker before this fight.
I did too.
I thought he was gonna win.
He didn't touch
really
gloves.
liked Dan.
He didn't. I mean, the thing is that Gaethje will absolutely fuck up.
He's not going to get that fight.
100%.
I don't think he's going to get that fight, honestly. After this, I do not think they're going to get that fight. Especially, like, the Aldo precedent. The UFC is starting to treat people like, if there's a decision that they don't agree with, the UFC's like, oh, that's too bad. So, it's on your record, but we're not treating it like a win.
I'd be curious to see what Dana White says and what actually moves forward. And I hope that Dana White talks to Paul Felder and he's like, listen, we're going to act like you won that fight.
Yeah. I would like, for Paul Felder's sake, if I'm... As a fan of Paul Felder, the man, I think it would be great if he retired. I would be great if that victory got overturned, and that's his sunset fight.
Yeah.
As a fan of Paul Felder, the fighter, I think that he's earned a crack at a top 5, which I don't believe he's ever had in his career against a true, like, top 5 opponent. I think give him that chance. Give him Dustin, who's been sitting out for a while. Give him Dustin. If he can win against Dustin, great. Give him a title shot. That's what I think. That's the respect I think that a guy with his time served and that last performance deserves, and a hard-fought victory against... Hooker's a really good fighter. Like, we're mad because he lost, and he showed some really distinct areas of weakness that we had seen, but he looked much worse than the Barbosa fight in my mind.
Well, yeah, I mean...
With those specific problems still there.
I think both fighters lost to Barbosa, so it is a little bit of karma for Paul Felder, but the Paul Felder-Barbosa fight was much closer than this fight.
Well, I'm saying even though, like, Barbosa versus Hooker, I thought Hooker, in some ways, looked better, even though it was a more dominant victory by Barbosa. Like, I thought Hooker was still actively working towards his game plan more effectively than he did against Felder, where... Frankly, I don't feel like Hooker really was instituting a game plan against Felder.
Yeah, the whole card just made me sick. It just made me sick.
Although I will say, Felder also didn't treat it like a sparring exchange.
No, I mean, he had, in my opinion, the most improvement out of both the fighters. And I was expecting Dan Hooker to evolve, and he didn't.
If anything, he devolved, I thought. Yeah. And so, this is what I want. Hooker fights someone ranked around him. Felder gets a crack at whoever is the odd man out in the top 5. I have heard rumors of McGregor and Gaethje being done in summer, so Gaethje wouldn't be on the table for either guy if that's the case. Give Dustin to Felder. Make that happen. That's a great fight. It sets up either one to actually be in contendership again. Right. That being said, guys, comment down below. Maybe you disagree with us. Maybe you're from New Zealand and Dan Hooker's your boy, and you were... not watching the fight, you were in the kitchen getting a brewski while it was going on, so you think we're full of shit. And if that's the case, please tell us. Please. Because I don't know how the hell you saw that fight for Hooker. Please. He didn't have power. He didn't have volume. Please.
Even with the takedown that he got at the
end. That was nothing.
It was literally under the new rules. It's nothing. You have to do something with it. And
even in the old rules. It was only for about a minute or 30 seconds. So please tell us. That being said, Ginger.
And the bear, peace.
We out.